I was doing enough. I thought, I'm fit. I can run 10 miles. I can, do all these things, but I couldn't do a single push-up. A really good friend of mine who's also a dietitian, she became a coach, a personal training coach. And so I hired her, and things just kind of snowballed to the point where now I'm like singing the praises of strength training everywhere I go to women, not only because of the health effects, but because it can keep us out of a nursing home, you know?
A lot of people our age again, but particularly maybe with women, not to generalize too much, that, "Oh, I can't lift weights because it'll make me bulky."
Oh, for
Mm.
sure. Yeah. I think a lot of women think that, and then it's just so untrue. We don't have the hormones for that.
I want to share some powerful anecdotal evidence about the lack of understanding among older people, in this case, particularly older women, about the importance of strength training later in life, particularly how it can help women before, during, and after menopause. Now, my guest today on Optimal Aging is a certified nutritionist who's been in the field for more than 30 years. She has a PhD. She's an accomplished endurance athlete, having completed more than, I think, a half a dozen Ironman triathlons. Cindy Dallow has done a lot in the classroom, on athletic courses, and in her profession in the health and wellness business. She didn't start weightlifting until she was in her 60s. It's because she just never saw a reason. She never understood, why would she want to lift weights? What good would it do her? It didn't have any relevance to her, despite the fact that she has this tremendous depth of knowledge and experience helping other women, older women, with their health. So she noticed that she couldn't put a bag in the overnight bin on the airplane as easily as she used to. She noticed that she couldn't do a single push up, and she decided that this was unacceptable. She also noticed that she'd been reading a lot of research lately indicating the importance of strength training for older women, particularly regarding menopause. And so she gave it a try, immediately loved it, and is now incorporated strength training into her nutrition practice in Colorado. Cindy's my guest today on Optimal Aging, the show for fitness, health, and well-being professionals who want to reach more people over 50. And I'm delighted that I have her on today. I've been wanting to revisit the topics of fitness and menopause for a while, so the timing was great. It's a topic that I don't think we talk enough. It's a topic that I think we don't talk about enough as a society in general, let alone in the fitness community. And yet it affects, fully half of the people on the planet, right? So it's worth talking about if we're talking about fitness over 50. And I'm delighted to have Cindy on today to share her experience and insight, especially since we have a university in common. I graduated from Colorado State University with my bachelor's degree way back in 1986. And that's where Cindy earned her PhD. So delighted to meet Cindy, delighted to share this conversation with you. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say about the topic. Cindy, hi, it's nice to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to see those beautiful trees out your window. You and I have been talking for a little bit before I hit the record button. So, I grew up in Colorado, near where you are. And
Mhm.
I'm looking lovingly out your window.
Well, it's nice now, but, if we were doing this in January, it would look a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
bringing back a lot of good memories. I went to Colorado State University. You earned your PhD at
Yes.
CSU. So we have that in common as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool. Well, listen, I have enjoyed this chat that we've been having, like I said before I hit the record button, and I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I really love what you're doing
Yeah.
regarding women and nutrition and menopause, and now with strength training and some of the lessons that you've learned for yourself that you're now sharing with other women.
Mhm.
So before we dive into all of that, I would like you to tell us where you are and how you got there and what your operation is like now.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I've been a registered dietitian for, gosh, I'd have to stop and count, but I don't know, 30 plus years. I've always been interested in nutrition. My father had a heart attack when I was in high school, and that's kind of what started it all. So my interest was actually in nutrition and fitness and cardiovascular health. That was my original interest. And so I went and got my undergrad and master's in nutrition, then went out and worked for a while, worked as a clinical dietitian at a hospital in Greeley, did cardiac rehab, and worked also with some athletes, and then was an adjunct faculty member at the University of Northern Colorado. And so I kind of have a varied experience of working with people of kind of all walks of life. And while I was at the hospital in Greeley, working there, Greeley, Colorado, I also became interested in a movement called Health at Every Size. And that's something we can maybe talk a little bit about. And it's just something I'm very passionate about. And that's, helping people of all sizes and shapes, and not furthering the pressure on people to lose weight and have these perfect bodies. But over the years, I was a runner, and then kind of became what of a cyclist. And then, of course, the natural jump was then to go in to do triathlons. So I started doing those. And as we talked about, most of my life, adult life, has been doing endurance sports, aerobic exercise. And I never had any interest in strength training. Always thought it was, I don't want to say a waste of time, but it was just something I was just not interested in. I didn't see the need for it. I was doing enough. I thought, I'm fit. I can run 10 miles. I can, do all these, but I couldn't do a single push-up.
Wow.
I could not do a single push-up. But it didn't matter to me because I didn't see the point.
Hmm.
So, so I've been doing that for, a long, long time. And then I actually started noticing that I couldn't do certain things, even though I was aerobically fit. If I had to pick up something or do something, put a suitcase in the overhead bin, things like I could do it, but I mean, it was hard.
Hmm.
And then at the same time, I started reading research because I'm kind of a science nerd, so I like to read research studies,
Yeah.
and started seeing this research coming out about strength training in women, and that it may help prevent diabetes, prevent and or control type 2 diabetes, prevent and or control high blood pressure.
Hmm.
It can help reduce the risk for heart disease, and definitely reduce the risk for osteoporosis because of the effect on bone density.
Hmm.
Like, wow, I never thought of that. And so I just started on my own YouTube videos, learning how to lift, and just reading more and more and more. And then a really good friend of mine who's also a dietitian, she became a coach, a personal training coach. And so I hired her, and things just kind of snowballed to the point where now I'm like singing the praises of strength training everywhere I go to women, not only because of the health effects, but because it can keep us out of a nursing home, you know? And my own mother ended up in a nursing home. She lived with me before she ended up getting dementia, ending up in a nursing home. She couldn't lift a feather. She was so weak, and I just thought, I don't want to be like that. So I
Yeah.
decided I wanted to add strength training to my exercise routine. I still do triathlons, and I'm still running and biking a lot just because I love it. But I've added strength training, and I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, and I've seen and felt the effects of it.
Right. And we're going to get to all of that. There's already a lot to unpack here, and we haven't got to everything. Tell us about your business and how
Oh,
it's
okay.
changed recently.
Okay, sorry. So, yes, because I am a postmenopausal woman myself, I think we tend to gravitate toward helping people that are going through things that we've already been through.
Sure.
So I decided, because I know what it's like to not have a clue what to do with strength training. I mean, I know what dumbbells are, I know what barbells are and all that. I really didn't know, how much, how often, reps, sets. I didn't even know what a one rep max was. Never even heard of that.
Hmm.
And so I did more reading and more strength training, and then I decided to become a personal trainer. And so I studied for the exam with National Academy of Sports Medicine, NASM, and became a personal trainer last fall and decided to incorporate that into my own business. And I have a private practice called Midlife Food and Fitness, and it's primarily focused on women, although I do work with some men. I have some male clients, but primarily I work with women over the age of 50 who are, they're either perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. A lot of the women I work with are totally sedentary and they're not doing any of the aerobic stuff that I've done for years, and that's totally fine. And then some of the women I work with are kind of more like me, who are runners, triathletes, but they don't know anything about strength training.
Hmm.
And so it's adding that piece that most of us of my age and even younger, I mean, I meet women in their 30s and 40s who don't know anything about strength training
Hmm.
and have all kinds of misconceptions about it.
Hmm.
So I decided to do both nutrition and strength training, personal training.
But you've been doing nutrition for a long time, and the
Mhm.
strength training is pretty new. So
Yeah.
first, let's talk first about the nutrition and menopause. I don't even know where to begin,
Yeah.
but tell us. I get asked a lot about menopause. We've addressed the topic a couple of times previously on this show, and I write about it for my business, Prime Fit Content. I feel like I don't do enough because that's how often I get asked about it.
The
People
hot
want to
top.
know. It's a hot topic. It just is, and it's an important one.
Yeah,
No, it is. It's
it
very
is.
important.
It
So
is very.
I want to ask you to sort of lay it out for us, set the table, as they say, about what are the particular challenges around nutrition and menopause. And then when we talk about strength training, we'll get to that too. But how do you help women with this period of life?
Oh, good question. Well, aside from doing a very thorough intake about their eating habits and their lifestyle, that's first and foremost to find out where they're coming from, because then I won't know how to help them. In general, I try to help women eat a healthier, obviously a healthier diet without the pressure to eat perfectly, because I think that's what a lot of people think when they see a dietitian is, oh, she's going to tell me to, eat this perfect diet all the time. And that's just not realistic. Because heart disease and osteoporosis are pretty risks that the risk goes up quite a bit after menopause. I generally address those two: heart disease, diabetes, and osteoporosis from a nutritional standpoint. So I do talk to women about a heart healthy diet that does include really good sources of calcium and vitamin D, or we talk about supplementation if they're not consuming, you know, dairy products. Cancer is also increasingly more common condition in people over, just men and women over the age of 50. So we just talk about how nutrition can prevent heart disease, diabetes, cancer, osteoporosis. So it's more of a preventative, holistic approach. Like I said before, I don't believe people need to eat perfectly or eat this, and I don't like the word clean at all, but eat this clean diet all the time. Honestly, I see people, a lot of the people I work with feel guilty when they eat, a candy bar. And so then they just give up and they don't do
Yeah.
anything. So that's kind of that's a common thing I see. But yeah, so and primarily more plant-based,
Hmm.
because there has been research. There's been lots of research
Hmm.
actually showing that more of a plant-based, I don't mean vegan.
Hmm.
Plant-based and vegan are two different things. So I'm not meaning vegan at all. I mean, if you're vegan, that's fine. I have a lot of vegan clients, but you don't have to be vegan.
Right.
But more plant-based and less meat-based of a diet. So that's kind of the direction that we take, and we just make small changes, make small goals, small change gradually over time till they get to the point where they're less processed, less ultra-processed foods, more whole foods
Hmm.
without that pressure to be eating perfectly.
Yeah, that idea of eating perfectly is really important. We see it a lot in exercise too.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I missed my workout yesterday, so I guess I'll just forget it. I won't go
Right.
anymore.
I hear that all the time.
Or I went to the gym and a teenager was mean to me because I'm 50
Hmm.
and I can't go back there. It's like,
Yeah.
how about let's talk about consistency over time. Now
Consistency,
that's really,
right.
is that important for these, for and
Huge,
nutrition with
huge,
menopause as well?
huge. That's one thing I preach all the time is consistency, with both eating and exercise, that consistency is more important than, the fine details. Like, I have clients say all the time, "Oh, I was bad last night," or "I was awful
Yeah.
last." Like,
Yeah.
what? "Oh, I had French fries," or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's part of life, Now, if you're having French fries every day, that's not a good thing. But so I just help people see the big picture, make changes that they can live with, that are sustainable, that should have an impact on their health and preventing, the big diseases that we just talked about, but also help them just feel better on a day-to-day basis, get
Hmm.
energy. I do believe that a more plant-based whole foods type of diet can also reduce some of the symptoms of menopause, not going to take them away. There is no food, no diet that's going to completely take away hot flashes or night sweats. Those things happen because of the drop in estrogen. So there's nothing out there that is going to totally take that away. But
Hmm.
I have noticed that eating, a healthier diet, exercise, and better sleep, all those things together, less alcohol or no alcohol, tend to make the symptoms of menopause better.
Hey, are you a fitness professional trying to grow your business with people over 50? If you are, then you need to know how to communicate with them, how to market to them, and how to get them to trust you with their fitness, well being, and money. We're talking about millions of people who are a little older than the typical market that the fitness industry usually pursues. They have more money, more time, and better motivation to make the best long term fitness consumers you'll find anywhere. If you're not focusing on them, you should be. PrimeFit Content is the only content marketing company designed specifically to help you engage people in this group and to help you distinguish yourself from competitors in your community. It's effective, affordable, and super easy to use. Check it out at primefitcontent.com. That's prime, like prime of your life, fitcontent.com. Back to the show. Without getting too scientific, can you explain why? And I wonder if sometimes you meet with resistance from clients who are like, why can't I have a glass of wine, or why can't I have a cheeseburger? Leave me alone. What's that got to
Yeah.
do with menopause?
Well, honestly, I'm not sure there is any direct physiological reason for this that I know of. But, in plant foods, there are certain compounds that may help with reduce the symptoms of menopause. Soy products, which, 20 years ago, women were told not to eat soy products
Mhm.
because they were told, and I remember that in the 90s. Actually, that was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
okay. 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We were told not to have soy products, but and that's a long story in itself. But now we know that there are phytoestrogens in soy products, very small amounts. So it's not like you can just start eating tofu and you're going to get the same effect as taking estrogen therapy. It's not the
Hmm.
same. However, studies have shown that women who eat tofu and other soy containing products have less hot flashes and night sweats.
Okay.
So
Can you,
I don't know the actual mechanism other than that there are these phytoestrogens in soy.
without reducing such a complex experience to three easy tips,
Yeah.
can you offer any other sort of nuggets that you find most women are not aware of, that if they just did a couple little things differently would help a lot?
Well, that's a really good question. I think I really think, and this is not really nutrition, but I think sleep has a lack of sleep affects some of these symptoms, and especially brain fog. A lot of
Hmm.
women talk about brain fog, and some of that is just due to poor sleep. It's not necessarily that we can't think clearly. It's just that during menopause, sleep takes a big hit and the quality of sleep takes a big hit. So the one thing I talk to women about is their alcohol intake and caffeine intake and stress management, because those three things are going to affect the quality of sleep more than anything. And then the poor quality of sleep affects the brain fog and some of the other just lack of energy, maybe emotions going all over the place, just because anybody who's not had a lot of sleep for a while can easily say, you just are not at your best. You don't think clearly. Emotions tend to be on the surface more. You become irritable. Those are all the things that women experience during menopause, which can be somewhat due to the drop in estrogen, but a lot of it is just the change in sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really helpful. Now I want to ask you, you have a doctoral degree in nutrition. You've been doing this for decades. You are an Ironman triathlete. So you are extraordinarily fit and athletic and have been for your whole life. So suddenly, a
Mhm.
couple years ago, light bulb goes off. And tell me about your awakening to strength training and how it relates to how you're helping women with menopause. Because, this idea that strength training is important later in life, particularly for women after menopause or during menopause, what have you, that's pretty new idea.
Mhm.
I don't think my mother knew that. I don't
Mm-mm.
think my sisters knew. So talk to me about that. You didn't know that. And as I said, this is your profession. So tell us about that.
Exactly. Yeah, well, before this last year, I was in nutrition. I didn't really keep up with the exercise. Well, exercise science I did to some degree, but not when it came to strength training. But I honestly don't remember, what came first. I did hear a speaker at a conference, Dr. Stuart Phillips from McMaster University, speak about this topic. And I think that was when I started to think about it. He's on Instagram. I would highly recommend following him. He does the research on strength training. He's an incredible expert. I can't speak highly enough of him. So I just started to notice that I was weaker, that I couldn't do, like I said, aerobically I could do a lot of things, but physically I couldn't do anything, or not anything, but there were certain things that I just didn't feel strong enough to do. And so I started doing some exercises on my own, started noticing some changes, started reading more about it. And in the last 5 years, it just seems like the whole topic of strength training in women has kind of exploded for good reason, for very good reason, because I think I mentioned that my mother, I saw my mother kind of deteriorate,
Hmm.
and a lot of it, I believe, was lack of fitness and lack of strength. I really do. I think that really led to her downfall. And I just don't want to be like that. Now, granted, she wasn't as active as I am now. She didn't have the fitness that I have now when she was my age. But she definitely didn't strength train and was very weak. And I just thought, I don't want to be that way. And I heard that, the number one this and I you can look this, I don't know if this is true, but this is what I heard from a good source. The number one reason women go into nursing homes is lack of strength. It's not dementia. They usually
Hmm.
get that after they're in the nursing home. But the reason they go into a nursing home is because they can't live independently anymore, because they're not strong enough to carry the groceries in, to put the groceries away, to open a can, to lift the jug of milk, to get themselves up off the floor if they fall. That's a big thing,
Hmm.
really big thing, that they literally cannot get themselves up off the floor. And boom, family members put them in a nursing home.
Yep.
And I just thought, I do not want to, I just really do not want to end up in a nursing home. So that was a big motivator for me. So all of those things combined, but there I was like, what do I do? I I have some dumbbells. I know you can do bicep curls. I know that.
Yeah.
I said I knew a few basic things, but I never had been a member of a gym my entire adult life until 2 years ago, because
Mm.
I didn't need it.
Right.
I did all this stuff outside, so I didn't need
Right.
it. I need to go to the gym. So once I finally joined a gym to do some strength training, I was really intimidated by the weight room because I saw all these really fit people, both men and women in there doing all these, they were bench pressing, they were deadlifting, but they were also doing all this stuff with all these machines and all these free weights. And I just walked right by that room probably for 6 months. I couldn't go in there. I couldn't go in there. And I hired my friend who's a personal trainer, and she kept encouraging me to go into the weight room, and I literally could not walk into the weight room. I was so intimidated by the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds crazy, but because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I walked, there's all these people in the weight room doing all these things. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do any of those things. And so my trainer, who I learned a lot from, and she was out of state, so she'd send me videos and coached me online. I started to learn how to do the things, and then I finally went in there and I started to do it, and now I've been doing it for 2 years. So I decided I want to help women who are like me, whether whether they come from a aerobic background like I did or not. I want to help them feel comfortable either doing a program at home, knowing what to do, what equipment do you need if you want to do this at home, or if you want to join a gym, if there's a weight room, what are some things you can do in that weight room and how to do them?
Mhm. Now, what got you over that intimidation, which is so common and makes perfect sense, but somehow you got over it. Was it your trainer who finally convinced you to just bite the bullet, or what happened?
It is my trainer. So I really believe it's important to have a coach or a trainer
Uh-huh.
because they can hold you accountable, but they
Yeah.
also just, I mean, that's huge, the accountability, but just telling you what to do and how to do it. And also, there's a lot of myths out there too about
Mhm.
lifting. There's this whole thing about lifting heavy, which we can talk about if you'd like, but kind of busting some of the myths that are out there and
Yes.
breaking it down into very simple steps and
Yes.
and what you need to do and giving you a plan and a program.
I'm so glad that you did all of this and that you're sharing this with us today because it's a very common struggle that people have, not just women, but men our age too. Because let's a lot of people, we spend our from about 25 to 60 on our butts, working, raising children, paying the bill, doing life for a long time. And then suddenly I got to do what? I got
Yeah.
to
No,
exercise. I haven't exercised since college. What are you talking about?
right.
It's intimidating, isn't it?
It's
So
very yes.
I applaud you for overcoming that fear. And it's something I talk to a lot. I advise gyms and trainers on how to help people our age get fit. And that's a big one. You can't just say to someone our age who hasn't exercised in years or like you has never been in the gym, despite your tremendous athletic accomplishments, go figure it out. Well, you
Go figure it
can't.
out.
Yeah.
Just start strength training. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
Yeah. And I know I'm not the only one because I am currently a strength training coach at our local rec center.
Oh, great.
And I also do it outside the rec center too. But most of the women that I get are pretty active women because I live in a area where there's ski resorts. So I get these women coming in who are, pretty in shape. They
Hmm.
ski, they cross country ski, they downhill ski, they hike, they bike. Most of the women I work with here, where I live in person, are pretty in shape and they have no clue what to do. And when I'm showing them as we go through some of the key, what I think are some of the key strength training exercises, they're not very strong. They would probably do great on a treadmill. They probably would pass all the treadmill
Hmm.
tests, but they couldn't do like me, they couldn't do a push-up. They have no tricep strength, no shoulder strength, no
Hmm.
core strength. So I think there's a lot of women out there who may be aerobically fit, but not strong.
So agree. I deal with this, every day. I talk to fitness professionals every day about this. What can we do to educate and motivate these folks, men and women alike, to if they don't know, how do we educate them? And then how do we motivate them to do the work? Because it's so easy to stay at home and and sit on the couch and, or to be active, like you're saying, these women that you're dealing with who in Colorado are very active, but it's not enough, right?
but not strong.
They're not strong. They're not strong. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and, and women, particularly after menopause, need that for bone density, of course.
Bone density for diabetes prevention. Mhm.
Tell the folks who might not know the connection between bone density and strength training, how it all relates to women in menopause.
Yeah. So when our estrogen levels decrease, then and I don't remember the exact mechanism, but our bone density can decrease. And because we also lose muscle mass as we age,
Hmm.
there's a
People,
direct,
not just women, but
yeah,
people.
men
Yeah.
and women
Yeah.
both lose muscle mass. That's called sarcopenia,
Yeah.
age-related muscle loss. And it happens in both men and women. And I actually like to come back to that. But the drop in muscle mass affects bone density.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of a double whammy that we become weaker and our bones become weaker. And then if we break a bone, boy, I tell you, if you're in your 70s and you break a hip or a femur or a wrist, even a wrist, sometimes it doesn't end well.
That's right.
Yeah. And I can't remember the exact statistics, so don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 50% of people who break a hip in their 70s end up dying.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. And there are a number of asterisks to say, like it's people who had a prior condition or people who previously did
For
this
sure.
or
For sure.
whatever.
And
But
yeah.
the point is, if you have a fracture late in life, it can be devastating and
Yes.
deadly. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, deadly. And definitely after 80, after the age of
Yeah.
80, for sure. And
Yeah.
the interesting thing is a lot of it can be prevented, with strength training, with proper nutrition, good nutrition. A lot of these things can be either prevented or at least delayed from happening.
So what do these women say to you when you say we're gonna help you through menopause and even after menopause by lifting heavy weights? Do they look at you like you're crazy, lady? I'm not lifting weights. What kind of response do you get?
Well, I also don't believe they need to lift heavy. I think they
Okay.
need, yeah, we can come back to that part. It's interesting. A lot of the women seem interested. They seem to be, I can tell a lot of them are intimidated and don't really know what to do, but they do seem interested in learning more. I really believe that most women see the connection between being stronger and being able to do the things you want to do.
Hmm.
And that's how I phrase it is, this is not about the big muscles or spending hours in or looking a certain way. It's, can you lift your grandchild? If you fall, can you get up off the floor? Can a lot of women my age who are retired want to travel?
Hmm.
Can you lift the suitcase to the overhead bin? Can you get up and down off of a bus or, we all know that it takes a certain level of strength and fitness just to travel, right? Getting through the airport, all the things and then the things you want to do wherever you're going. People seem to get that connection and they're more interested in strength training when they realize it's going to help them do the things they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. These are the things that I focus on in my material is I've come up with 7 reasons that people over 50 want to get fit or stay fit. And you've described some of them, the grandchildren and traveling and continuing to play sports, continuing to enjoy their hobbies, maintaining their physical health, mental health, and brain health is another thing that,
Yeah.
fitness
Yes.
is so
Yeah.
good
The
for
brain health.
brain
Exactly.
health. Yeah.
Yes.
So it does come down to these 7 primary motivators. And if we can tap into those and help people make that connection, then I think that goes a long way because who doesn't want to be able to play with their grandbaby? You
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. Or for the people that live up here in the mountains where I live, I mean, there's people in their 80s that are still skiing and they
Yeah.
want to keep skiing.
Yeah.
So strength training is really important for that. Or hiking or, whatever it is, whatever people want to.
You said something about not lifting heavy, and heavy to me is let's let's get into that a little bit, because heavy to you might mean not so heavy to someone else. And,
True. It's
you see
relative.
you see women with these little 2 pound dumbbells and you think, does that do anything? So if you can quantify that a little bit, like you can't just get by with these little 2 pound dumbbells that you bought at Target, can you?
You can in the beginning if that's all you can lift
Yes. In the beginning. Yes.
in the beginning. It's all relative.
Yes.
So I see on Instagram and other, social media platforms, this big push for women to lift heavy, lift these heavy weights, get out and lift heavy, heavy, heavy. And according to the research I've read, and to Dr. Stuart Phillips, who I mentioned earlier, who I follow, you don't have to lift heavy. You can still improve your strength, increase your strength with lighter weights, obviously more reps. Okay. You still can. So you don't have to lift heavy to get stronger. If you want to, and there's a lot of women out there who want to,
Yeah.
then go for it. Go for it. There's no reason not to. But I know a lot of women who do not want to lift heavy weights, who are intimidated by that, just that alone. And it's also a little, I don't want to say dangerous, but you do increase your risk of injury if you all of a sudden go out and want to start lifting all these heavy weights. If you're not doing it properly, you can end up with a back
Sure.
injury or, you know, so you really, if you want to lift heavy weights, you really need a good coach or a trainer who knows what they're doing, and you gradually work up to heavy weights.
Sure. Yeah.
But according to the research I've read and Dr. Phillips, you don't have to. You can improve your strength with lighter weights and more reps.
What about the idea of progressive resistance?
Well, that exactly. You have to have progressive resistance.
Explain that, because what I'm
Oh,
trying to get at is here, I don't want people to hear this and think, oh, I can just stay with my little soup cans and do my soup cans for the rest of my
okay,
life.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to progress it over time. So let's say right now, like my mother probably couldn't have lifted a soup can. So we would start with that. But over
Sure.
time, that's going to become too easy.
Yes, that's what
Yeah,
I'm getting at.
yeah, I see what you're saying. So once a weight becomes too easy, you've got to progress or you're not going to get stronger.
Yes.
It's that whole concept of distance that makes the muscle stronger.
Yes.
And as you know, bigger does not mean stronger. So bigger muscles does not mean you're stronger. But and it's about strength in my mind. So you do have to progressively increase the weight to where you are to promote resistance to increase the strength.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, I mean, how far, how much, how far do you have to go? I mean,
Yeah.
but I think it's going to take a while for most women.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's true for everybody. I mean, at some
Yeah,
point
true for
you
everybody.
you say I'm good. I don't need to add any more, or you find
It's going to
another.
take several years.
Yeah, yeah. But that brings up the common myth, that I think I think persists with a lot of people our age again, but particularly maybe with women, not to generalize too much. Oh, I can't lift weights because it'll make me bulky.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of women think that, and it's just so untrue. We don't have the hormones for that. We don't have the genetics to get huge. I mean, some women do. To get really big and bulky, you have to spend a long time lifting, not only each time in the gym and years to get to that point. And most women are just not ever going to get that. But you can see, I mean, back when I worked in cardiac rehab, which was a 12-week phase 2 cardiac rehabilitation program, it was 12 weeks. I mean, even in that 12 weeks, I saw women increase their strength. And they were just lifting small weights, but they were doing it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it really comes down to, it needs to be individualized. So if a woman really wants to, I have a friend who's learning how to power lift. It's her thing. She wants to be really strong. And so she's doing all that kind of lifting. Wonderful. Go for it. But then I think about my sister and my sister-in-law, who you couldn't pay them to do that.
Right.
But they want to be strong enough to lift their grandchildren and strong enough to, take care of the big farm one of them lives on now and be able to do all those kinds of things. They want to be strong enough to do that, but they have no interest and, big muscles or anything. They just want to be strong enough to do what they need to do.
Right.
And so you got to individualize their program for that so that they can increase their strength. Also, hopefully, change their body composition, which helps with, be getting stronger. And yeah, as soon as they're able to do the things that they want to do, then they don't necessarily have to keep adding weights, but they do need to keep lifting weights.
Yeah.
You can't just stop and
Right.
you
Okay.
end up losing.
So again, you've been dealing with menopause and nutrition for a long time. You have a new weight resistance training program. I believe you're calling it Strong Enough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Strong enough to do the things
Okay.
you want to do. Mhm.
And tell the folks where they can go to learn more about everything that you're doing or about your background, that kind of thing. Anything you recommend that they take a look at.
Sure. They could go to my website. It's probably the best place to get all that kind of information. And it's midlifefoodandfitness.com. So midlifefoodandfitness.com. And all the information about Strong Enough is there. Just click on, you'll see Strong Enough and just click on that. There's a contact form. You can easily contact me. I'm pretty sure my email address is on there as well.
Yep.
My background. And I do have a little plug. I do have a 4-week self-study nutrition and menopause course that people can take for
Okay.
$30 if they want
Okay.
it. And it has cooking videos and it's not only like all about nutrition and menopause, but it's like, oh, here's some recipes that you might like and here's how you make them. And so that's there as well. And yeah, they can definitely email me or message me if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions about any of these topics.
Well, Cindy, thank you very much for sharing all this with me. I'm really excited to share this with people. This idea that we just weren't told this. We were not educated on this when we were growing up.
Well, some of it is the research wasn't there then.
Right. I don't mean we were deliberately misled. I just
Right.
mean
It's just, yeah, no.
we didn't know.
Mm-mm.
We didn't know. And now
Mhm.
it's hard we're at the age perhaps when it's hard to begin new habits.
Right.
So it's the
Right.
challenge to step up and say,
Yeah.
well, build some
Now's
new
the
habits
time.
then. Now's
Now's
the
the
time.
time. Yeah. Take it one step at a time.
And you did. Look at you.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
Started weightlifting at 62.
Right? Exactly. And, I'm not like, bulked up or anything, but I'm stronger. I'm definitely stronger. I've been able to increase my weights on almost everything. And it feels good. It feels good.
I know it does. Well, Cindy, thanks again. And it was a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was fun.